So, our emotional insides and how we relate to that, I think, can be well visualized as the same ways in which we handle the trash in our house. Now, I don't mean that in any kind of pejorative way. It doesn't mean that the feeling states are bad and trash isn't bad. Trash is just an is. It's a regular part of daily life. Our trash, what we throw away, is some part or pieces of something that was valuable to us, something we purchased, something that somewhere we obtained, and it had value, and this is part of what came with it. Similarly, we have a feeling response to everything that happens all day long. Some part of us is registering what something means, and we have all kinds of big or large emotional responses to that. So just like the trash in the house, it's not a bad thing or a good thing, it's just an is. It's a daily spin-off of living. Question is, what do we do with it? Most of us, unfortunately, grow up in cultures, families, society, educational systems, mostly our home environment, wherever we spend the most time with our deepest emotional material. We often grew up in situations where kind of the way the emotional world, the emotional trash was handled was it tended to get put under the rug, behind the sofa, in the closet, in the spare bedroom, just kind of thrown to the side. Or the opposite, we might have had a situation where there was somebody who just threw trash all over the room all the time, and it was messy all the time. Either way, if that was the way that the trash was handled, sooner or later the house gets toxic. Sooner or later, the rooms in which we have packed it away or strewn trash everywhere become unlivable. So we start living in smaller and smaller regions of the house. We start closing the door as you walk down the hall to that spare bedroom or that spare room. We just don't go in there anymore. We've put so much stuff in there, don't even know what it is anymore, but it's so nasty every time you open up the door, we just stop going. Or, well, it's really there's so much stuff under the rug, you can't even walk, or it smells bad because there's stuff been put behind the sofa and nothing's been cleaned in a long time. We get an increasingly toxic home in here to live in when our emotional material is handled that way. It also gives us an analogy for what basically anxiety and depression truly are. Depression is not excessive sadness. That's not what depression looks like. Depression is apathy. Depression is a state where we're really not feeling anything at all. We've been drained of resources. There's an emotional emptiness and fatigue where we just kind of don't feel anything anymore. That's the same thing as what happens in a house when all of the rooms are getting chewed up piece by piece by piece. And now we're living in just this room and maybe down the hallway and one over here. We've lost our resources. We've lost our internal space, and it's gotten very tiny and small. That's what depression looks like. Anxiety is simply the flip side of that. It's why anxiety and depression are so often talked about in the same way. We throw the same drugs at them. They're two sides of a coin. Anxiety is all of that material trying to find its way to betterment, trying to find its way to clean, and it not being safe to do so. Anxiety is like we have pushed so much into a closet that it can't be shut anymore, and it's bursting at the seams, and at some point, it just spills out all over the floor. That's what an anxiety reaction or an anxiety attack, a panic attack, as we call them. It is that material that's been packed away, never had eyes to see it and ears to hear it. It's never found its way out. Finally, finding a crack in the armor and coming bursting out. So the question becomes, how do we return to a different way of handling the emotional trash? One thing that's different is we are an alive organism. And unlike an inert house, we're more like the most fantastic self-cleaning ovens of all time. Our bodies know how to instinctively self-clean emotionally, and they are always trying to do that. Again, that's what anxiety is the body trying to jettison that tension against a wall of armor that has been arrayed against it. And so it's finding a small crack in the armor. So when that comes bursting through the crack, that's not a particularly good or healthy way to do it. And so it's unpleasant and we don't like it. And our bodies are kind of behaving in a strange way that we find very uncomfortable. What we have to do is recover our body's natural ways of taking out the trash. Our bodies know how to do this instinctively. We have to go back, and to use the analogy, we're going back to an area that's been stuffed full of things and old trash. We're going to need to sift through that. We're going to need to separate out, here's what I still want to keep. Here's what was lost that I've been looking for. Here's the things that, no, time for this to go. We're going to go through it, and then we're going to package it up in a certain package, tie it up neatly, and we're going to take it somewhere outside of the house and dump it. That's what we do in a healthy home that we're handling our trash well, is we are repetitively knowing what's happening with the trash, and when it starts to fill up a bit, we're going and packaging it up and taking it out somewhere else, dumping it, coming back to a cleaner home. Our bodies are made to do that emotionally, but we don't grow up in environments so often where that's the way that it's handled. And so we learn how to stuff, and we also have the resultant problems of having it spew out at inordinate times. So we want to find the ways in which we do two projects. When we start recovering our body's ability to take the trash out well, we are, first of all, spring cleaning. So, especially at the beginning, we're going to find, ooh, wow, that's a door and a room that I've never, ever been willing to go into. I'm scared of what's in there. I'm not sure I want to touch that. We have to go in anyway. We need safe accompaniment sometimes. It can be quite daunting to do all that on our own, especially at the beginning, and go, I can't tackle this mound of stuff in this room. But if we have a safe support person with us that says, you know what, I'm going to go in there with you, and I'm going to be with you through that process, and we're going to do it together. Oh, okay, we already feel a little safer and a little easier with what we are going to meet that at that point can feel rather unknown. So we open that door, we go in, we start sifting through it. This is not an analytical process. Standing at the doorway and analyzing everything that's there and going, I see how this got there. I see how that got there. I see where that's from. Oh, good. Okay. That doesn't change anything. We still have to remove the trash. And the feeling level experience, feeling our way at a bodily level, like we talk about a lot in this video series, is the essential place of cleaning. That's what taking the trash out looks like. It is not a head understanding of what's there. That doesn't change anything. It doesn't remove the trash. Removing the trash is a physical labor of love. We are doing something to physically sift through and get our hands dirty inside it and take it all out and package it and take it out of the house. That is a process, not a thought, not an understanding. Me knowing what it is doesn't change any of it, one way or the other. So we are doing some spring cleaning of areas and places that have gotten pretty built up over time. We're tackling some attic that hasn't been touched, in decades. That's one piece of what we're doing when we recover this process for ourselves. A second piece is that as we're doing that, what we are doing is re-remembering our body's natural knowledge about how to take the trash out. We're relearning and reestablishing the trash removal process itself, so that once we've cleaned out a lot of material, we don't go back to the old habits of stuffing it again and just end up in the same problem again. We start learning that, you know what? The more regularly I do this, the cleaner the house stays. The longer I let the trash sit around and pile up, the harder it is and the less enjoyable living in my internal home is. So we start learning that frequency of attending to what is passing through us every single day is the key to keeping the house clean. Just like it is with trash, the more frequently we take it out, the better the house is going to be day in and day out. We also have to notice that we tend to so often do the opposite of that is needed. When it's a trash in, trash out equation. So unfortunately, at times when the trash is coming in a lot heavier than other times, it's not really our emotional instinct to take the trash out more frequently. It's what's necessary, but it's not the way we tend to do it. Our old patterns come in and we stuff even more. High stress times, we tend to put all of that attention aside somewhere else. We bury it and push it to the side. I don't have time for this. I've got too much to do. And we don't attend to what is building up. And then we kind of have to pay for that later. It's, an analogy would be, think about what happens at the holidays. There may be a lot of presents being exchanged or parties and all kinds of stuff going on. The amount of trash buildup is a lot bigger than it is on just a normal day in the rest of the year. So if we took the trash out around the holidays in the same amount or the same frequency as we do the rest of the year, it wouldn't be adequate. We got a lot more stuff that's got to be taken out. That's what we need to do in our emotional world, is recognize when I've got a lot of trash coming in, I need to do more attention to the trash removal process, not less. The other aspect, as I mentioned, support helps immensely, because we would have naturally cleaned all this out before had it felt safe to do so. Our bodies don't like holding on to stuck material. Our bodies don't like the process of trash being jammed up and then it trying to squeeze its way out the cracks of life in a way that doesn't work very well and just spewing out all over the floor. That's not the natural way. And so the only reason that we resort to the unnatural is because once upon a time we learned it wasn't safe to do it the natural way. To be open and be able to move through all that, there wasn't safe landing zone for that. So we need the safety that we get from loving care from other folks who know and who have been through the trash removal process in their own lives well, to be a guide or a help or an assistance in that, especially in the earliest stages of it. Then we also learn a lot about our own way to do it, and we get better and better, but still there's going to be a time, even if I've cleaned a lot out, that, oh, there's still that little dark corner I haven't visited, even though I got most of the house clean. And that might be the time I want some safe support to come with me as I go into that particular dark corner. This is all that anxiety and depression truly are. We'll talk a lot more about that on depression and anxiety video series pieces, but this is what it truly is. Depression is the exhaustion of resources internally so that we just don't have anything left. And anxiety is all of that stuck material trying to get out and not feeling safe to do so. It gets a lot better when we start attending to the trash in a healthy and supportive and supported way.